Okay. Edinburgh Lectures on Mental Science, there is nothing that compares to it. When I say nothing, I'm not joking about nothing. I have read thousands of books. Nothing compares to Edinburgh Lectures on Mental Science. Now, I have noticed, I don't put it as the top, the one that's recommended at the highest, because if you read that book first, you'll never read another book again. Okay, that's why. But it is the most potent and accurate book in the world from my experience. It's not, I'm not talking just scientifically, I'm talking holistically. It's the most important book. It's one of the most important books that I read easily, and I've read a lot of books. This is top tier. I'm gonna read I'm gonna read one chapter out of it. It's a super short chapter, but the chapter is just potent. It's important, and I might even do a whole series. I started to do a series a little while back on it, but I might just do another series on Edinburgh Lectures on Mental Science. But when I tell you the this life of yours is a science, the mind is a science, consciousness is a science. The way when you see that golden funnel, that's the science of the way things work. When you see that and you understand that at nuanced levels and you apply this, by the way, the application of the information is where you learn the most. You will learn more by applying the information for a few weeks than you ever will from reading 1,000 books like I did in the first year and a half. No reason to do that. Truly, is no reason to do that. It's unnecessary. If you apply the information for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you will get more nuanced feedback than you ever will just reading. It is all about application. And it's based on principle first thinking. Anybody heard of principle first thinking? Anybody heard of principle first thinking? Okay. Principle first thinking is to think from the principles that make the thing go versus what's happened in the past. How a lot of people think is this, and this is how scientists do it. This is how a lot of lawyers and Supreme Court justices do it, which is not good. They look at what's happened in the past and they base what's going to happen in the future based on what happened in the past. So, to give you an example, the Wright brothers did not think that way when it came to the plane, but everybody else did. They go, well, we've never flown. Human beings never flown. We've never seen a human in the sky, have we? Have we ever seen a human in the sky? And then everybody made fun of the Wright brothers for trying to be bicycle mechanics to put the plane in the sky. And they said, if God meant for people to fly, God would have gave us wings. We're not supposed to fly. I don't know what's wrong with these people trying. And they literally said these things about the Wright brothers who created the plane. Okay, point being, the Wright brothers didn't think based on, okay, what happened in the past? Has anybody ever flown? Can we fly? Let's look into the past and see. They didn't ask that question. That's how most people think. They said, what are the principles of flight? What are the principles of flight? And based on the principles of flight and what makes things fly, can we apply those principles of flight to fly our vehicle? And so they started to think simply on basic principles. And they said, yes, in principle, we can fly. Therefore, we're going to build a machine based on the principles of flight, and then we'll be able to fly. That's what they did. Okay? So the reason that principle first thinking is so important is because those principles create the opportunity to do whatever you want based on those principles. Elon Musk think from principle first. So Elon Musk went into Twitter. He said, you have how many people staff? They're like, we need all of these servers and we need all of these people. Elon Musk said, in principle, no, we don't. Based on the principles of what makes this work, we only need X, Y, and Z. Slash all of them. A whole bunch of unnecessary expense to allow it to run better and smoother, whether you like the platform better or not. It's that he made that decision based on what he saw as principle first thinking. They go, you can't launch a rocket in space and then bring it back and let it land on a metal thing and catch it like toothpicks. No, you can't. Said based on principles, yes, we can. So principle first thinking is massively important because it doesn't make you delusional. It makes you understand and be grounded in the way you pursue your goals. It's like this: the law of gravity. It's a law, right? What goes up must come down. Boom. That's the law. But there's a senior law. It's called the law of lift. The law of lift suggests when you employ the law of lift, I think it says something like if it's enough velocity behind it and enough air pressure under it, it'll lift the vehicle. It'll lift anything higher with enough thrust and enough wind under. So as long as you have enough thrust, you can fly anything. And enough wind under the wings, you can fly anything. That's what the law of lift says. So by employing the law of lift, you don't suspend it, but you supersede the law of gravity. It's senior to the law of gravity. So these are principles. So, by the way, the principle of flotation, by the way, a lot of ships were only made of wood a long time ago. They only made them of wood. Why? Because if you throw a log in the water, it floats. So they assumed, so I guess wood floats. And if you put a hunk of steel in the water, it sinks. Okay, so we got to make boats out of wood because it floats. That was the assumption. But principle says, okay, let's look at the reason this floats in the first place. Let's look a little more closely. Here's what they found. If the amount of water that is displaced is lighter or heavier than the material that displaces it, it'll float. So you can flatten out a piece of steel wide enough that it displaces more and a heavier amount of water to the point where the boat floats, no matter how big it is. It just needs enough water to displace it. So that's when they found, we can create boats and navies out of steel because we are applying a principle first thinking. Not, I guess only wood floated in the past. We've never seen a piece of steel float. Okay, you've never seen a piece of steel float, but if you understand the laws or principles of flotation, you can make steel float. Are we understanding? Y'all following this? This is the value of principle first thinking as it relates to your consciousness in your mind. In principle, the question is not, have I ever made $1 million? $10 million, $20 million? Have I ever done that in the past? That's the wrong question. Have I ever even had a successful relationship or ever seen a successful relationship in my family? That's the wrong question. Have I ever run a company before? That's the wrong question. Does anybody in my past genetics have six-pack abs? Wrong question. The question is, in principle, what makes this thing do what it does as far as it doesn't? Let me find out what the principles are and the laws that are applied to make this thing do what it does. That's first. So once you find out the principles that makes the thing do what it does, then you can specialize those principles to what you want. So the question is not, has it been done in the past by me? The question is, in principle, can this happen? Well, here's the principle. Whatever the mind can conceive and bring itself to believe, within reason, it can achieve. Okay, that's the principle. So if you can't believe it and you can't see it reasonably happening, go find somebody's brain who can see it happening and say, you come here. How can this happen? Tell me. They'll tell you, based in principle, based on everything I studied, this actually can happen. All you got to do is, and now you listen. And then you get the understanding, conscious competence. And then you go and apply these principles as this person said it so that you can do it. Hence, step one, know who to listen to. Somebody who has what you want and has been where you are. You thinking in principles at this point. When people say, "Oh no, that could never happen," I've never done that before. I tried that business. It doesn't work. I tried that. Okay, in principle, can it be done? Well, I tried it. That's not my question. In principle, can it be done by a human being? Well, yeah, okay. That's all I need to know. Goodbye. Next. Because in principle, it can happen. That's the only thing I need to know. You see? Mara, go. So, dog was just about to mess up the whole system, y'all. So y'all, are y'all seeing this? All right. Principle first thinking. There is a law in the universe called the law of growth. It's called the law of growth. We're about to break down the law of growth. I'm going to read this out of my favorite book. This man is the clearest thinker I've ever met in my life. Yes, I met him in my dream. Okay. He is the clearest thinker I've ever met. Ever. Never met a more sound-minded thinker than this person. Okay, so I'm about to read this. All right. It's called The Law of Growth. This is probably one of the shortest chapters, but one of the most important. Edinburgh Lectures on Mental Science. I posted it in the book list. It's on one of the book lists. And look, this is one of those books, super cheap. Nobody knows about it. Nobody really talks about it. It's 100 years old. It's way more accurate than the books today on consciousness and the science of the mind. It's way more accurate than any recent books in the last 100 years. Author is Thomas Troward. Thomas Troward is his name. All right, I'm about to read. All right, it says, a correct understanding of the law of growth is of the highest importance to the student of mental science. The great fact to be realized regarding nature is that it is natural. If you're taking notes right now, put that down. The great fact to be realized regarding nature is that it is natural. The greatest fact, this man is a sound-minded thinker, influenced minds like Bob Proctor and Ernest Holmes, who ended up influencing all the conscious leaders, thought leaders of New Thought. If you ever heard of New Thought before, that movement emerged back in it was like in the 30s. This is who inspired Napoleon Hill in his works. Without Thomas Troward, there is no Napoleon Hill. Okay, so understand this. He said the great fact to be realized regarding nature is that it is natural. We may pervert the order of nature, but it will prevail in the long run, returning, as Horace says, by the back door, even though we drive it out with a pitchfork. He's saying it don't matter how much you try to twist the laws and cajole them and manipulate them into what you want them to be temporarily. It's natural. It's going to come back in the back door and turn back into nature that it was in the first place. It's natural. That's the fact to realize about nature, is that it is natural. Okay? Next. He said, in the beginning, middle, and the end of the law of nature is the principle of growth from a vitality inherent in the entity itself. The beginning, middle, and end of the law of nature is the principle of growth from a vitality inherent in the entity itself. The growth comes from inside the thing itself. The growth of a seed comes from the vitality in the seed itself, no matter what the seed is. And at the human level of consciousness, that is thought. The thought itself cannot produce anything except what the thought is. You can't produce something in your life that's different than the thoughts you think. It's impossible. Okay, let's just keep reading. I ain't even gonna go too crazy. Okay, if we realize this from the outset, we won't undo our work by trying to force things to become by their own nature that which they are not. Okay, I'm gonna read it again. If we realize this from the outset, we shall not undo our own work by endeavoring to force things to become that which by their own nature they are not. This is key. See, this is what people try to do. They don't understand. They don't understand this. They don't understand this. They don't know this is just how it works. It's not a theory. If you just look at your life, this is how it works. They don't know this, right? So what they won't do, they won't start with this. They won't start with I am as the most important. They don't know that you got to hate where you are. They don't know these things, right? To germinate a seed, which is the law of care. They don't know this. So they won't start with I am. If I am something that I don't want, if I am broke to myself, if I feel broke, if I feel broken, if I feel like I'm an imposter, if I feel like that, okay, it doesn't matter what I do. The law of growth says I cannot force this feeling of who I believe myself to be anything. It can't grow into anything except what I feel myself to be. If I try to go and be successful while feeling like a failure, I'm manipulating nature. I'm trying to hijack nature. It's impossible. I can't be successful if I feel like a failure. It's impossible. I have to feel like a success in order to be successful. It's the only way. So he said this, let me read it again. If we realize from the outset, we shall not undo our own work by endeavoring to force things. I need to force it. I need to go out there and make it happen. I need to make things happen to make me successful, even though I feel like a failure. Let me go make myself feel successful. Force things to become that which by their own nature they are not. It doesn't work that way. You have to change the way you feel about yourself. It's the only way. Okay? There we go. For this reason, the Bible says that he who believeth shall not make haste. Meaning, it says that in the Bible. If you believe, you won't hurry. You won't rush. It is enunciating a great natural principle that success depends on our using and not opposing the universal law of growth. Look, if you know that the seed is the seed is the seed, that seed is, let's say, an apple seed, do you have to force the apple seed to grow into something? No, you don't have to force it. But a person who knows the law of growth won't force it. We know that for an apple seed. We don't know that for our thoughts. We know that for an apple seed. We don't know that for our feeling of who we feel ourselves to be. This is the issue. Now, no doubt the greater vitality we put into the germ or the thought, which we have agreed to call the spiritual prototype. Earlier in the book, he talks about your idea being the seed of what you want, being a spiritual prototype. It's what's going to manifest, is what's in your mind. So he says, no doubt the greater vitality we put into the germ, which we've agreed to call the spiritual prototype, the quicker it will germinate. That goes back to the karmic lesson we talked about, where if you go to sleep and appreciate what you're doing, that it'll accelerate what you create and it'll bump that seed to the top. That's referring back to that. Notice how this is in a totally different book than that, but they're saying the same thing. That's because truth is truth is truth, y'all. It don't matter which book you're reading in, it's all the same. Remember that. If you're hearing the truth, it's the same everywhere. Okay? So he said that. But this simply is because there's a more realizing conception. We put more growing power into the seed than we do by a feebler conception. So that's the reason that it works out, because we can see it more clearly. We can feel it more viscerally. So if we can see it more clearly and feel it more viscerally, obviously it's going to grow faster. That's what he's saying. But that's the only reason is because there's more vitality in that seed. We know that. Okay, but this is simply because of our more realizing concept, we put more growing power into the seed than we do by a feebler concept. Our mistake, he's going to talk about the mistake, the only mistake you can make. Our mistake always eventually resolve themselves into distrusting the law of growth. This is the only mistake you can make. So let me read this. Our mistakes always eventually resolve themselves into distrusting the law of growth. I'm going to read a little bit more and I'm going to explain. Either we fancy that we can hasten the seed to grow by some exertion of our own from without, by forcing our action, or and by doing that, we're led into hurry and anxiety. How many people have experienced that? I need to make it happen, and things to happen by Tuesday. How many of us? Okay, how many of us went into that? Okay, that is hurrying and trying to force it from without. Not to say sometimes into the employment of grievously wrong methods. We try some stuff when we try to force it to happen. We try all kind of stuff. Okay, that's what it's referring to. Or here's the second way we make a mistake. We give up all hope and then deny the germinating power of the seed we planted. You quit. These are the two ways to mistrust the law of growth. Because what happened? If I know that who I'm feeling myself to be manifests, what am I rushing it? What am I rushing? That's a question, right? What am I rushing? I'm not trusting the law of growth. Or if I'm like, it'll never happen. Oh my God. You just removed the vitality from the seed of yes and energized the seed of no. You just literally germinated an opposite seed, and now the energy from here has been taken and moves over here. Go ahead, Sarah. I can't hear you.
Times. Oh crap.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. We can hear you now. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I have done this more times than I can count. At what point though, where I'm kind of like sitting there playing like the mental game with myself of kind of checking myself, like, no, this is real. We understand that this is something that is going to happen. Like, you need to like check yourself, know that it's all good,
Mm-hmm.
and stop trying to force it. Like, stop trying to like be like a little sorceress or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
but I guess my question is, with constant going back and forth like that, at what point do you feel like that stops?
When you
Because
stop
I
going
feel
back and
like,
forth.
yeah, because I feel like for me with this particular thing, it's been like something that's been in limbo, but I just have to watch the natural progression. So I've been doing that, but it's been in limbo, and then I've kind of been thinking that way too.
I
So
got you. So
yeah.
this is what I would say to that. So what I'm hearing is you have an idea, it's developing, but you have to continue to remind yourself it's real, it's real, it's real. And you sometimes you slip into I don't know, and you go back and forth between the two, right? So this is the secret trick. After you plant a seed, do you sit there and look at the seed and say, "Damn, is it growing? Is it growing? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know." You don't do that. Okay. What do? You just let it grow. You go do something else. So what you need to do is you need to just go do other things that make you feel good all the time. What does that do? It waters the seed. Okay, it waters the seed. Just allow it to be watered. The water is the energy that you feel. If the seed is already planted, it's planted. The seed gets planted when you hate something enough to initiate a change. I've made a decision to change, and I've taken the actions. Now, if you've done all that you can do and you've taken everything as forward as it can go today, drop it. Go do something else until it comes back another opportunity to do something. So if I'm waiting, if I need to wait for a year for something to happen, I'm not watching that for a year. I'll forget about it for a year. We can't do nothing about it. Next. Okay, what else I want to do? Go do that. This back here is germinating. But if I focus on it, if I think about maybe not, I'm going into that anxiety and I'm distrusting the law of growth at that point. That makes sense? Good question. Thank you for that. That's a question that really added to the conversation because I know a lot of people may have been thinking along those lines and wondering. So thank you for that. So let's keep on reading this. So either we fancy we can hasten it from exertion from without and led to hurry and anxiety, not to say grievously wrong methods, or else we give up all hope and deny the germinating power of the seed we planted. The result in either case is the same. For either case, here's what we're doing in both cases. We are in effect forming a fresh spiritual prototype of an opposite character to our desire. So what's going on here? Let's talk about it. So this is how it works. The law of polarity says every subject is two subjects. What you want and the opposite of what you want. So here goes the seed. This is a seed here of what you don't want. Let's say this is the desire, actually. This is the seed of desire. And this is the seed of worry. Now, the law of polarity says if I give attention here, the law of one, let's say the law of one, and that's the law of awareness, really, says I can only give attention to one thing at a time. Now, as I'm giving attention to this, my desire, it grows, it grows, it grows. But what happens when you start to hurry? All you're doing is removing attention from this, and you have now formed a new spiritual prototype. Worry. Now, here's what happens. As worry grows, a layer of desire disappears. And you worry more, and a layer of this desire disappears even more. And as you worry more, then another layer of the desire disappears until all you're thinking about is what you're worried about. Okay. This is how it works. Now, what's the case for most people starting off is first you start off worrying so much and you have layers and layers of worry. What has to happen is, and this is what the golden funnel and the boot camp does, it gets you to remove focus because we do it so often. Look how often we meet. Look how much homework you have. And what is it doing? It's only getting you to focus on what you actually want. Now, that's small in the beginning. That's why it's so hard for you to do in the beginning. It's like, damn, this is me. I got to take full responsibility. Damn, I don't have time to meditate. So you start here, but you focus on the desire. As you focus on the desire and a layer happens on the desire, a layer of worry disappears. This happens over time, y'all. And then another layer of your desire grows, and then another layer of worry disappears. And then as you continue to focus, the layers disappear. And as you continue to focus, layer of worries disappear. And as you focus more, the layer of worry totally vanishes and you're in total faith. It's not a guess anymore. This is when you know. It's beyond belief. You know it. There is nothing that says opposite. This is when the thing happens, is when there's no more doubt. Y'all saw that? That is how the law of growth works. Okay? Good. 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 This is the stuff I see in my brain, but I got to put it on paper. So, this is how it works. All right, let's keep reading. Because now you know what it looks like in your brain. You have to focus long enough strong with intensity over a long enough period of time until the worry completely withers away. That's what has to happen. And a lot of times you have to just totally take your mind off the subject because you have too much momentum on worry. That's why you have to say, oh, I sowed the seed. Let me go dance. And this is go dance. Because now your energy ain't thinking about nothing except good. Okay? You can only focus attention on one thing at a time. So if you focus on good feelings, them good feelings vibrate. And they vibrate every seed that resonates at the level of your desire or that feeling. So if you're feeling good, all good seeds are germinating. If you feel bad, all bad seeds are germinating. Okay? I'm telling you, my favorite book. My favorite book. Here's the next part. Let's go. The result in either case is the same for either case. We are in effect forming a fresh spiritual prototype of the opposite nature to our desire, which therefore neutralizes the first one formed and disintegrates it and usurps its place. So every time you think about, damn, where is it? You're literally disintegrating all of what you want and growing what you don't want. Every single second you spend thinking about what you don't want. Every second you spend. It neutralizes the first one form and disintegrates it and eventually usurps its place. It takes its place. So a lot of people set goals and then they think about the worry and they're like, it doesn't happen. No, it was happening until you started focusing on the opposite. That's the key. The law is always the same, that our thought forms a spiritual prototype, which if it's left undisturbed, will reproduce itself in external circumstances. The only difference is the sort of prototype we form. Thus, evil is brought to us precisely by the same law as good. Okay, are y'all hearing this? I'm gonna read this again. The law is always the same. There is no difference in the law. Our thought forms a spiritual prototype, which if it's left undisturbed, if you don't bother it, it will reproduce itself in external circumstances. Period. That's the law. If you leave it alone, but what we do, we keep bothering the seed. Leave it alone is what it said to do. If you leave it alone. The only difference is in the sort of prototype we form. And thus, evil is brought to us precisely as the same law as good. It's the same law that brings you both. The same law. It's not a different law. This is what people don't get. They're like, oh, my guides are helping me, but the evil is after me. No, it's not. No, it's not. Okay, your thinking is after you. You keep thinking wrong. Stop giving attention to some evil whatevers. It's irrelevant. All you're doing is growing that in your life. And this is what people don't get about law. This is why law is so important to know. If you understand law, you don't say that kind of stuff. You don't say, "Oh, there's evil energies around me," I think. You won't say that. I'm not saying that. Why would I say that? If I know the law, if I focus on it, if I focus on what I want, then this one disintegrates. What the hell am I talking about? An evil force? It's irrelevant. The law of growth is what I'm talking about. Principle first thinking. See, this is principle first. Is it true that people sometimes ask me online, well, what about the evil? Is it a devil? Is it this? Is it dark? Is it light? It's missing the point. You're not thinking with principles first. Principle is what makes good in my life. Okay, growth. Okay, how do you grow? You form a spiritual prototype in your mind, and if it's left undisturbed, it will manifest in external circumstances. Okay, that's the principle. So does it make any sense for me to entertain any ideas of negative? No. So I'm not talking about this subject. It's irrelevant. That's principle first thinking. I'm not having a conversation. Somebody online asked me earlier. I said, look, what I do, I told him, I said, what I do, I told him essentially, I focus on loss. That's what I focus on. He said, well, what proof do you have to justify not believing in this other thing? I said, it's irrelevant. This works. But you don't have any proof about the opposite. I don't care. Why do I need it? I don't. See, this is principle first thinking. Y'all want to work with principle first thinking. You don't start by thinking about what can I do or can't do. I don't know. Start with my mind is the entire power. That's principle first. Okay, so since my mind is the whole power, what do I want to think about? Because that's what's going to be created. That's principle first thinking. You only think about what you want. That's why. See, people tell you, think about what you want, not what you don't want. Okay, why though? Because the law of growth. That's why. Now you know the why behind the what. The why is so important behind the what, because you can tell me what to do. I ain't listening to you. I'm doing what I want to do. I always do what I want to do. I'm not listening to you. Tell me why you just said that. And if you tell me why and it makes sense, I'm gonna do what you said. Because I'm not married to an idea. I just want the thing that works. I'm gonna do that. If it makes sense, I'm doing it. That work for you? Okay, let me try that. That's how quick I accept an idea and drop mine. It's irrelevant what the idea is. Which one is the best? Which one worked the best? Which one gonna give me what I'm asking for? Which thought? I noticed the thought of something for nothing always gets me nothing. I'm gonna get as much as possible for nothing. That never worked in my life, so I don't do that. If it worked, I'd be doing it right now because I do what works. That's my thinking. Principle first thinking. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so it said these considerations will greatly simplify our ideas of life. We have no longer to consider two forces, but one, as being the cause of all things. The difference between good and evil results simply from the direction which this force is made to flow. That's the only difference. It's a universal law that if we reverse the action of a cause, we at the same time reverse the effect. What does this mean? With the same apparatus, we can commence by mechanical motion, which will generate electricity, or we can commence with the electricity, which will generate mechanical motion. It says to take it to a simple arithmetical instance, 10 divided by 2 equals 5, but 10 divided by 5 equals 2. It's saying, okay, if I think this way, I'm going to get that. But if I think that way, I'm going to get this. It's simple. That's it. It's very simple. If I think this way, I'm going to get that. If I think that way, I'm going to get this. It's so simple. That's the law of growth. All right. Now I'm going to fast forward and go to another highlighted section for y'all. All right. Another highlighted section, it says, they are inversions. Oh, it says, in like manner, all books of every branch of spiritual science empathically warn us against the admission of doubt or fear. So all spiritual books tell you not to doubt and tell you not to fear. That's what it's saying. They are the inversion of the principle which builds up, and they are therefore the principle which pulls down. But the law itself never changes. He's emphasizing this point. The law itself never changes. And on this unchangeableness of the law, it is on this unchangeableness of the law that all mental science is founded. We can't do mental science unless the laws are unchangeable. Then it wouldn't be a science. Then we'd be in philosophy. I got a philosophy of life. That's cool. You got to have a philosophy to get to a science. You got to have it. But you don't want to live in a philosophy. I know philosophers. I know a lot of philosophers. They just twiddling their thumbs and twirling around. That's what they're doing. They don't know what the hell they're doing. The philosophers. You want to be a scientist. Scientists get stuff done. You want to be a scientist, a mental scientist. Now, in order to have science work, you got to have a philosophy that leads you to the science, to testing the science. But you want to be a mental scientist, not a philosopher. Okay, philosophy is cool. You need it. But that ain't where it ends. We are accustomed to realize the unchangeableness of natural law in our everyday life, and it should therefore not be difficult to realize the same unchangeableness of law, which obtains on the visible side of nature, on the invisible side as well. So he said, we see the laws in the real world, in the physical world. Why don't we understand that it's the same fixity of law in the invisible world? Why wouldn't it be exactly the same? He proposing a question. The variable factor. Now, when we talk about variable, and when we learned in school, there's a constant and a variable. It's something that doesn't change, but it's something that changes. This is how we test the law. He said the variable factor is not the law. So people think, well, I don't believe that law. Okay, it's irrelevant. What you think is about what, but you about to get. You about to get exactly what you thinking most of the time. I don't care what you believe. Believe till the end of time. You getting what you thinking. Okay, so he said the variable factor is not the law. See, we don't like being told what to do, and for good reason. But understand this. This is not telling you what to do. It's telling you how it is. Please understand the difference. Nobody telling you what to do. It's telling you what it is. This is just how it is. The law of growth is real. It just happens the way it happens. Period. Now, that's law. So the variable factor is not the law, but our own will, meaning our own choices. That's the variable. That's the variable. That's the thing that changes, not the law. Only thing that changed is what you've decided. And mainly what you decided you are. I'm not that person no more. How many people had that moment? Nope, that ain't me no more. I don't do that. This is what I am. How many people had that moment? Everybody. And what happened after you made that decision? Okay. Do I even see this is what I'm talking about. When people get so complex and so philosophical, it's like, what happened? Okay. This is easy. After you changed the decision on who you were not and who you were, didn't everything in your life change? It wasn't some things, everything, right? Every relationship changed, every result changed, your work changed, your emotions changed, everything changed. Am I lying? Is this a lie or is it true? Look, I'm not the truth. This just is how it is. Can y'all see why I love this book? I like accuracy. And I ain't talking about accuracy like this is a fact. Okay, facts are created by my mind. I make them up. Okay, first it was a fact that we couldn't fly in the air. Now it is. Okay, so they changed. I don't care about facts. I care about what creates reality. I'm going to make new facts that don't exist right now. So I don't care about the facts. I'm going to do it. That's it, period. Because I understand the law of growth. It says when I focus on this thing, you don't see it right now. But as layers and layers of the desire build, it's going to manifest in the physical world. And then you're going to be like, wow, how did he do that? Okay, if you want to know, I can show you. Read Edinburgh Lectures on Mental Science. I'm going to tell you to read. And then turn the law of growth. That'll find it. But that's how it works. That's how it works. Okay. So it says the principle of growth, let me read it again. The variable factor is not the law, but our own volition, our will. And it is by combining this variable factor, your will, with the invariable factor, the law of growth, that we can produce the various results we want. The principle of growth is that of inherent vitality in the seed itself, and the operations of the gardener have their exact analog or equal in mental science. The gardener is the mental scientist. Y'all are gardeners. If you're wondering what's been happening this whole time in the 30-day boot camp, I'm a gardener, y'all. I'm like, bloop, here goes seed. You can do it. 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 And then it's like, whoa, I feel like I can do it. I'm a gardener. You a gardener. That's what's happening. I'm just a gardener. You a gardener. Listen, it's the equal. It's the equivalent. All right. We do not put. Okay, hold on. This is such a good sentence. We do not put the self-expansive vitality into the seed, but we have to sow it. So what that means is these thoughts that we're talking about, they are true already. I don't have to put the vitality of the seed in there, but I got to get you to hear it. My job is to sow that seed of you can do it in your head, in your heart, as much as possible. And I think the best way I found to do that is visuals like this, the golden funnel, audios, and books. Associating with people who are like-minded, liking this group, getting recognition for succeeding, and giving recognition. Because you're thinking about the same thing all the time. So the seeds get planted and the seeds grow. See, I know a lot of people started taking off and getting a lot better results when Colby shared and said, yeah, we got a client. Paid in full. Everybody's like, damn, this worked. That's a seed, boop, in your head. It's like it worked. Damn, I didn't know it worked. I thought this was just a 30-day boot camp. Okay, it works. So now it's a seed. Boom, I can do this. I can do this. Now the seed is planted. Next, germinate the seed. Or water the seed, should I say. It's already germinated. Water the seed. How you water it? Feel good and be feeling better. Just be dancing all the time. That's what if you dance all day, you probably get everything you want. If you dance all day, probably gonna get what you want. I'm telling you. It's the way it works. You just gotta feel good and be feeling better. Or if you're not feeling so good, just feel better than what you do. Okay, so we do not put the self-expansive vitality into the seed, but we have to sow it. And we may also, so to speak, water it by quiet concentration or quiet concentrated contemplation of our desire as an actual accomplished fact. That's how you water the seed. That's how you water the seed. You sit there and go, damn, this is real. Because how could I be feeling if it wasn't real? Ooh, I like this. That's how you got to feel. That's water in the seed. The only time, if you're thinking about, and this is the reason why you got to have a goal big enough to excite you, because then the feelings are there, but small enough for you to believe in, because this is what happened otherwise. If you think about something that's not small enough for you to believe in, every time you think about it, you're going to worry. I don't know. I don't know if I can do that. What if I can't do it? I don't know about this. I don't know how to. Now you form an opposite prototype, neutralizes this one. This usurps the place of this one, and now you start getting that. That's the reason behind the recipe. Y'all see this a recipe. See, you're not going to hear this on YouTube because they don't get it. They got the general idea. They're like law of attraction, law of assumption, lucky girl syndrome. Okay? And none of them know the damn real thing that's happening. They don't get it. So they can't tell you. They're doing their best, but they've never manifested anything in their lives. That's the reason they can't tell you the nuances. Because they don't get the nuances. They've never created anything. They heard an idea and now are teachers. They've never done it. They've never built anything. Okay? So they're going to be missing a bunch of ingredients. They're going to be missing the proportions. They're like, yeah, I know, I read it. I know how to cook. I saw a cake. It had eggs in it. It had flour in it. It had sugar in it. It had icing in it. Just mix them bitches together. Put it in the... No, it's the way it works. You got to actually do it. You understand what I'm saying? You got to actually do it. And then once you realize, oh, you got to actually heat the oven to a certain temperature. You got to mix this. Don't mix that with that yet. You got to put this icing on last. You don't put it on. You get nuanced understandings. That's the same way as success, y'all. Success is the same way. It's a recipe, and you have to do it in order to know it. Okay? Let's read a little bit more. So it says, so we don't put the self-expansive vitality into the seed, but we have to sow it. And we may also, so to speak, water it by quiet, concentrated contemplation of our desire as an actual accomplished fact. That's how you water it. But we must be careful. We must carefully remove from this contemplation any idea of strenuous effort on our part to make the seed grow. We have to remove that. Its efficacy is in helping to keep those negative thoughts of doubt which would plant tares among our wheat. And therefore, instead of anything of effort, such contemplation should be accompanied by a feeling of pleasure and restfulness and foreseeing that certain accomplishment of our desires. It should feel good, is what he's saying. When you think about it, it shouldn't be like, how am I supposed to do this? I don't know how I'm supposed to do this. That should not be the case. If you're thinking like that, get off that topic right now. You're creating a negative. Stop thinking about it. Think about something else right now. You cannot keep thinking about that. You have to switch the subject. It's a lot of people who I worked with in the past, they had absolute horrible ideas about relationships. I said, you got to stop thinking about relationships. They're like, no, but I want one. I'm like, no, you can't think about it. You're not allowed. Cancel. Get off that topic. What else you like? No, but I want a relationship. I'm like, stop it. You think it, you feel too bad when you think about it. Get off the topic. Go outside. Look at the sunset tonight. Go in the morning, look at the sunrise. Listen to the birds chirping. Go look at a flower. Go, pull up videos of butterflies. Watch them. Anything but what you're thinking. You can't think that. You're not allowed. Why? Because you're creating the negative every time you think about relationships. You got to quit. Now, here's what happens when they do that. I'm being funny, but the truth is they do have to think of something else. And if the people who do it, they go, yeah, I like painting. I just got into painting. I started painting recently. They meet a person who liked to paint. And it's unbeknownst to them. It's in the back of their mind. So they start painting. They start doing things they like. And then they meet a person. And they're not even thinking about it. It's just a person that just kind of with them. They're around them. And they just doing what they love. And now this person is doing what they love. And they look up. And it's 3 months later. And they keep going out with the same person. It's like, I think I like you. Out of nowhere. Because that's how it works. If you think about something, listen, let me read it again. We must carefully remove from such contemplation any idea of strenuous effort on our part to make the seed grow. Its efficacy is in helping to keep out the negative thoughts of doubt which would plant tares among our wheat, and therefore, instead of anything of effort, such contemplation should be accompanied by a feeling of pleasure and restfulness in foreseeing the certain accomplishment of our desires. This is that making our request known to God with thanksgiving, such St. Paul recommends. If y'all read the Bible, that's that. Has its reason in the perfect wholeness of the law of being, which only needs our recognition of it to be used by us to an extent that we wish. Look, what he's saying is this. Once y'all recognize this law, you can use it. If you don't recognize it, you can't use it, which is why a lot of people in the situation they're in. Because they don't even know this law exists. So if you don't know that you can sow a seed and grow it into physical form by thinking it and feeling good about it when you think it on a regular basis, if you don't know that, you can't apply it. It's the law of being. It's the law of consciousness. You can only use what you know exists, what you recognize. It's impossible to use it if you don't recognize the law. So now, guess what? Y'all know the law. That's why you can use it. You talk to somebody who's never studied this stuff and you go, look, just think about positive. They're like, no, look at the world. They start telling you all the negatives that happen. Because why? It's just what everybody does. They don't know any different. They don't know any better. They have no idea what else to do. They don't know the laws of the universe. They haven't studied them. Yeah. So, law of growth. It's one of my favorite chapters because it gets to the basics of the use of consciousness. He said the law is never the variable. It doesn't change. The variable is your will, your choices. It is by the use of this variable law with the invariable law which produces all the other results. Remember this. I promise you, it's going to change your life. Now you got to come back to this video over and over again and be like, what did that say? Let me listen to that again. By the way, if y'all are not listening to these audios over and over and over again, you're missing it. Because look, y'all change it. So by the time you listen to it again, you're gonna listen to it and be like, when did he say that? That's what y'all gonna say. Like, when did he? I don't remember him saying that. And it was there. It was there. And then you go, dang, he said that. I just experienced that. He said it. Seeds, boom, bloom in real life. That's how it works. So go back and listen to the stuff that we already recorded over and over and over again. That's when y'all gonna start watering the seed. Because what's happening? The whole time, you just thinking about what you want. That's what all the exercises are for. That's what the 3 days a week is for. That's what the homework is for. That's what the meditating is for. That's what the asking out loud is for. That's what the following the gut is for. That's what the game is for. That's what keeping the score is for. To keep your attention over here all day. That's it. That's the only reason it exists, is to just keep your attention on the right part of the game. And that's why the goal has to be big enough for you to get excited about. Why? Because the vitality you put into the seed makes it grow quicker. Boom. That's one qualification. Then small enough that I know I can achieve this within reason. Because there's no doubt in it. It's like, no, I know I can do it. Yeah, I know I can do it. So you know you can do it and it feels good. It's like, damn, I like thinking about this because you know you can do it and it feels good. So next thing you know, you're creating it, and then you got a bigger goal. You accomplish it, like, damn, I should have went bigger. Now you can go bigger. Now you can go bigger. Now you can go, damn, I can do even more than that. I can do more. Let me try to set a bigger goal. Let me see what I can do. And then you set a bigger goal and it's expanded. And what you believe you can do is bigger. The size of the dream, bigger. And what expanded even more? Dream exercise. If I hit the lottery 20 times, meaning I could just do whatever I wanted and I couldn't fail, what would I do? Then now you write that. What that does? Expand the vision so that the natural next step seems small. It's like, oh, I know I can do this. These are exercises for consciousness. It's a game. It's a recipe. So everything that y'all have done over this last few weeks, every single thing is on purpose. It is designed to stretch your mind in very specific ways, like working muscles at the gym in very specific ways. I'm your trainer. That's it. But you got the muscle. You eating right. You building right. You hitting the squats. You got the burn. That's why you feeling the effects. But you working with somebody who, I just done this so many times. Like after you do it so many times, you better know something. Okay, I work with hundreds and hundreds of people individually and worked on improving results with consciousness, not with a bunch of action. Action is once the action happens, by the way, your action just floodgates. It's like you work 16 hours a day, you don't even feel like you're working. That's when you know you're doing it correctly. When you're just working so much and it don't feel like work. You don't call it work. Everybody else, when they look in though, they think it's work. They're like, why do you work so much? It's like, damn, I didn't even know I was working. That's how it feels. When you in that mode, that's how you know you're doing it right. So action is a part of it, but when you're doing it right, it feels so good. Before you get to that point, take action still. Okay, you're gonna get the contrast. Don't sit. What number worst thing to do? Don't do nothing. Okay. Second best thing to do something. Third best thing to do is do something and make you feel so damn good you don't feel like you're working. That's the levels. You can't steer a parked car. Okay, get it moving so you can steer it somewhere. Y'all in this boot camp, I'm so grateful y'all paid and invested in yourselves for this boot camp because think about what you wouldn't have got. Think about what you wouldn't have got. Think about what you'd have missed. And think about how many people had the opportunity and was like, well, how much does it cost? Look, poor people know the cost of everything, the value of nothing. That's a poor thinking mentality. How much does it cost? Who cares? What am I going to get from it? What is the return on investment? I don't care what it costs. What's the return? I'm about to get my life gonna change. I don't care what the cost is. Here's whatever people don't think like this. This is broke minded. Poverty is a mindset. Poverty is a mindset. It's how you think. Every one of y'all invested money. Congratulations. And you had the discernment to know that this was going to work for you. Congratulations. Good for you. And other people gonna wonder, I wonder why my life's not working out for me. You wouldn't pay $200. You wouldn't buy a book. You wouldn't read the book that you bought. And you wonder why it's not going to succeed. You're not succeeding. It's not out of mystery. If I look at your life, I know here's what you're not doing. You're not knowing who to listen to. You're listening to all the wrong people. Number two, you are not teachable. You know everything. I know you know everything. Guaranteed. You 0 out of 10 willing and 0 out of 10 willing to change. I know that. You always thinking about what you need to do. You looking for all the tips, tricks, techniques. I know that's what you're doing. Number four, you don't even know what you don't know, and you're not trying to know what you don't know. And number five, you're mastering nothing. You're doing everything. It's the 5 fundamentals. I know what you're doing. I don't have to ask. If I see somebody losing, you're doing the opposite of the 5 fundamentals. I know it already. I don't have to ask you. First thing I'm going to ask you, who did you get that idea from? Go look at their results, and you'll know why you're losing. I know. It's not a question. I know you've listened to a loser, somebody who's losing. I know it because you're losing. You can't be listening to somebody who's winning, feeling good every day, doing their dream every day, creating every day, and doing what they tell you, emulating what they tell you to do, and be losing. You can't. It's impossible because they're winning and you understand? Like comes from like, not unlike. So you know what's going on. I know that you got no teachability. If I say, well, why am I losing? Why am I not succeeding? I know your teachability is 0. You're either unwilling to learn or unwilling to change or both. I know it. Because otherwise you'd be learning. Otherwise you'd be changing. Otherwise you'd be getting progress, but you don't. And if somebody try to talk to you, I bet you talk more than you listen. Guaranteed. This is how I know what's making people lose. Okay, third. What I bet you focus on action, don't you? If I ask you what makes people succeed, the way they think or the action they take. Well, look, this is what I think. This is what I think. This is how boneheads think. I thought like this too. I'm the same. So I'm the biggest bonehead. That's why I get to say this. I'm like, look, this is what I think. I'm over here broke and losing, and I'm talking about what I think. It don't matter what I think. Stop thinking. Use his brain, whoever's successful. Pray. Put yours on the side. Matter of fact, throw it into the ocean. And then take this other person's brain. It's probably better than yours. And then use it. And then watch the results. You're going to start getting better results. That's what you do. I know you're not doing that if you're losing. I know it. I know that. You are focused on actions. Work so hard. I got to do it by myself. If you want it done right, you got to do it yourself. It's only me. Me only. I'm the only one taking action. All right, you stuck. I know you stuck. Because that's not how it works. It's the way you think. Andrew Carnegie didn't know nothing about steel. He didn't know nothing about selling. He didn't know nothing about nothing. He was the richest person in the world. What did he do? He brought all the people who did know in. As a matter of fact, he went one step closer. He said he found people who, this is crazy. He found the people and knew who would do what he wanted them to do. He said he would find people who not only could do it, but he knew that they would do it, i.e. Napoleon Hill. He found a dude who was willing to spend 25 years of his life doing a philosophy of success that Andrew Carnegie intended to make. Look, where the book? It's somewhere. Here it is. Listen. Look, Andrew Carnegie is responsible for Think and Grow Rich. If y'all didn't know. He's responsible for it. If you read How to Own Your Own Mind, it's on the book list, you're going to hear Andrew Carnegie talking. Andrew Carnegie is the person who gave every single tip in this book to Napoleon Hill. Andrew Carnegie did it once. It said, Napoleon Hill, you're going to spend 25 years of your life studying what I just told you today. And he did it. Andrew Carnegie was a beast. But was he working very hard? No, he worked 7 hours a day. He took vacation for 3 months. There was no telephones back then. There was no cell phones. How the hell are you running a $300 billion business? How is he doing that in the 30s? Working 7 hours a day? How? Not work, not hard work, I tell you. Wasn't hard work. He took vacations. He left the office at 7 p.m. prompt. He said, I'm out. I'm not doing no more work. He ain't doing the 16-hour work days. Andrew Carnegie's responsible for this book. He found the dude and said, you're going to do this for 25 years. Guess how he found out? Promptness of decision. He said he had a stopwatch under the desk. He said after he took him around his estate for a day and a half, he said, all right, now you know everything I told you. Will you do it? Then he started a stopwatch. Click. 60 seconds. He said if he didn't answer in 60 seconds, he would have dismissed him. He had a stopwatch in his hand. He said, I know that successful people make prompt, quick decisions. And if you can't make a decision in 60 seconds, you ain't going to do it. He didn't tell him that, but he had a stopwatch in his hand. He said, and he told him later, he said, you answered in 33 seconds. That's how I knew you would do it. In the way you answered it, that's how I knew you would do it. That should tell you something. Somebody asked you to do something. Somebody asked you to take a risk on yourself. Somebody take you to take a chance on yourself. And you go, let me think about it. I'm going to think about it. You ain't going to do it. That's not winners. Winners don't do that. Successful people make quick decisions because they don't think about the how. They go, what do I want? He just said something that I think that's going to give me what I want. I'm doing it. That's it. I'm in. That's it. Done. No time. Okay? Look, that's the end of the law of growth. I just want y'all to hear that. I hope that this actually impacted you. I want this to impact you deeply. I want every talk to impact you deeply so that you can get it deep down in your gut soul. I want it to just come out of you. Okay? Any questions, comments, observations before we leave? About the subject? All right. Look.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jay.
I have to put in my token 2 words.
Let's do it.
Great job.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's the divine.
Okay.
It's the divine. Candace, you had something?
Hey, I was gonna say just my observation. I'm learning that the more, like you said, like I know before you always focus on the principles and focus on our why, and so I know before like anything you that comes up or anything like that, it seems like once I remove my emotion from wherever that situation is, like you said, just applying like the principle because it's a law. It's not like that's the constant. That's not something that's going to change. Your emotions are going to change, all the all the time. And so once I do that, I just realize that, like you said, like I just focus on the principles, and I'm seeing it everywhere. Like principles, like in everything, even right down to the things that I think are perceived bad. When you did the other thing, I know this is talked about for this one, but we did the last talk when you were talking about the giving, and that like blew my mind to be like, you know what, like it blew my mind to understand that I'm still giving even when I'm receiving. I'm still giving. So it's just
Yes.
the principles that is the everything that you do. it makes it so simplistic. So I just want to kind of like just share on that. Thank you.
Good. I hope that it's simple. I was talking to Alicia earlier. I was like, I think God made my brain slow like this because he wanted me to make things simple because I can't understand stuff that's super complex that don't make like this sense that's like on the ground. So my brain is very, you would notice if you talk to me about a subject, I'll be asking questions like, what's that mean? What's that word? Explain that again until it just becomes super simple. So I think God made me like that and I'm so appreciative. I wasn't good at school, but thank you, y'all. Any other questions, comments, observations? All right, y'all. Look, I will see y'all in the chat. This is one of the most important lessons. Please go back and listen to the day 1. Go listen to day 2. Go listen to day 3. Go listen to day 4. Go listen to day 5. It's gonna be totally different. You can be like, damn, I got a boot camp for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I just keep going through it again and again and again because it's never ending. It's gonna always be step 5, master the first 4. Just go back. I'm telling you, you a whole different person. That's why it's different. All right. I love y'all. Y'all have a beautiful night.
Bye.